These folding wings come in handy trying to find a place to store this thing. Well, good evening, Blue Troopers. Max and Max's Models here, and I have finished the 1:40 scale Sky Raider by Revell, the one with all the moving parts. All the control surfaces, including the flaps, do move and can be positioned. I'm going to have to glue these flaps into place because they keep flopping around. No matter how I position them, they eventually just drift down. Not enough friction to hold them tight. I've actually already glued the ailerons into place because they kept moving also. But the kit makes a pretty nice representation of the airplane. The cockpit lacks much detail, but it does have the Yankee extraction system in it with the warning labels that go on the bubble canopy. And I put this one in South Vietnamese Air Force markings. The probably 60-year-old decals are actually still good. If you're going to make everything work on this airplane, you're going to have to carefully clean, probably maybe even file down a little bit, lubricate, and several times pre-fit all of the moving parts inside, but you can make it work. One thing I do recommend where the dive brakes are concerned, it doesn't say to do this in the instructions, but it worked for me, is to take a small piece of tape, and once you put the lubricant on the T-arms that go in there, put a small piece of tape over it to hold it in place, because even though it's supposed to be pressure between the piece and the wall, they will find room for that T-handle to pop out. Just a little piece of tape is all it takes to hold them in place, and that made problems go away. I also would recommend, if you really want it to work well and really into it, the yoke that's designed for the center dive brake to come down. I recommend go ahead and getting your finest pen vise, drilling that out, drilling the hole all the way through the sliding arm, and put a little metal pin in there. That'll work better, because this one, and I'm sure it's happened to most people who've built this kit, eventually that yoke popped off and there's no way to get back inside to fix it without tearing the model apart. The dive brakes open and close as you move the elevator up and down. And you can have a sliding canopy. One of the small pieces of the canopy popped off. I can't find it, so I only have the little guardrail, slide rail on one spot. And I'm missing one of the rockets in a rocket rack, so of course if I ever get a 140 scale toilet, I will make it a toilet bomber. Although that was actually, I think, flown off the Enterprise, and this is in South Vietnamese Air Force markings, but still, you get my point. It'd be a lot of fun. The decals, I'm really shocked that being almost 60 years old, they actually still worked. But the landing gear, when I put it into position, it doesn't go exactly into perfect lockdown position. And so one of them's a little bit out of alignment and swept back. Not bad, nothing you notice. I mean, it's a plastic model with working parts. Obviously, like any carrier aircraft with folding wings on a model, the hinges are definitely oversized for the wing, so they're way too visible when the wing is down. But that's just one of the limitations of plastic models. Still, it makes a decent looking kit. It's going to look good on the shelf. I've already shown how everything works. I doubt I'll keep playing with it because I just know I'm begging to break stuff. But rotating prop, folding wings, positionable flight control surfaces, openable dive brakes, fully retracting gear. It is an interesting piece of engineering, and my hat's off to the guys at Revell for doing it. All in all, it was a pretty interesting build. It doesn't fit super well, some fit issues, and the cowling around the engine is extremely tight. It is actually designed so that if you want to, you can sort of quasi snap the cowling into place, but I glued it on in there. And yeah, some of the decals are not in the instruction sheet where they go, so I just winged it. But overall, it gives you enough instruction. But there's that flap popping out of place again. And I'm gonna have to glue those down and harden them. But anyway, you see the model in all its glory, and I'm very happy with it. It takes some time to build this, especially if you're gonna try and putty up all the seams. And the biggest problem with this kit, I think, is that you have so many working parts that getting them in place and getting things to hold together while you're working on it, things kept popping out, landing gear doors and the like. and ailerons and stuff, because there's a very small fit in there. And personally, I think there are other ways to engineer this sort of stuff, but that was 1965 that this was designed, and all in all, they did a pretty good job. And a handful of missing parts that were not in the kit, the one rocket, of course there's the parts that I lost, the little piece off the cockpit and the arrestor hook, so I can't really blame anyone but me for that. There were a couple of parts I never did find in the box, but the box was so tattered that I'm sure one or two of them slipped out, but nothing that was a deal breaker. And I haven't painted the figures for it yet. It comes with 3 ground handling guys and a pilot. But that's it. That's the way it's going to be displayed. And you know what? Not bad, not bad. I didn't go into the weeds on this. I just really wanted to make everything work. The paint job's kind of a quickie, but still, especially from 3-4 feet back, doesn't look bad at all. And I put it in South Vietnamese Air Force markings just to do something different. I have 3 more Sky Raiders from Tamiya here, which don't have all the moving parts, but I'm sure they're much nicer fitting kits. And those will be in American markings. And I've got enough to do Air Force, Navy, the works. Now, there are several different paint schemes available. I went with one that was similar to what was on the box, but there's also the dark blue scheme and the camouflage scheme. You can do a lot with this kit. And the Sky Raider is one of those airplanes, called the Sandy or the Spad, that kind of gets forgotten to history, but it's really an incredible airplane. A World War II design that just barely missed combat in World War II, but served in Korea and Vietnam extensively. Highly modified versions were used for all kinds of missions. It was a real truck. And the airplane, finally they had to retire because they just were flying the wings off of them. Douglas wasn't set up to make them anymore, so they had trouble finding a replacement for it. That's how indispensable it was. Mighty, mighty Sky Raider. If the Navy ever comes up with another dedicated attack plane, they need to call it the Sky Raider too, but only if it's really, really good, because this is one of Douglas Aircraft's home runs, and it's right up there, in my opinion, with the SBD Dauntless as far as its impact on naval aviation. So that's what I have for tonight, guys. Lots more to do. Take care of yourselves, and as always, model on.